look forward to our time together today and for the opportunity to introduce to you what we've done with Production Coach. Before we begin looking at the software itself, I wanted to just highlight briefly that recently my company RSA Solutions did a survey out to industry peers, woodworking companies, and consultants, asking specific questions about the cost for specific manufacturing challenges. You can see those hopefully displayed on your screen, but I'll quickly review. You know, how much does it cost when assembly starts to build something but can't finish the assembly because a part is missing? And you can see that the median cost provided back to us was $1,500 a month. How much does it cost to leave something off the delivery truck, whether that's a deliverable item or loose bundles of molding or hardware bags, whatever that is? And the median cost for that was $2,250 a month. First of all, before we continue, I recognize that not everybody has the same challenges in their business, but I think that you can see from these numbers that there are some potentially expensive ways of doing business. How much does it cost each time the production has to come into the office for information? You know, that's time and cost, and that was even a larger number at $2,750 per month. How much does it cost to find out where something is in production? That was a median cost of $1,500. For all of the shop paperwork, $2,125 per month. And then how much does it cost to expedite part shipments because there weren't damaged part alerts, decentralized decision-making processes along the way? That was the largest one at $3,500 a month. You may have different results. I talked to a number of companies that said, I know it's expensive, but I don't have any idea how much it actually is. Some of these questions were what formed part of the architecture of what today we'll refer to as Production Coach, so that we're able to see in a live environment today. I'm going to begin in a CAD/CAM software. This happens to be our woodCAD/CAM software, AutoCAD-based engineering and manufacturing software. But I want to make clear that Production Coach also easily works with other solutions, which would be industry standard software, whether it be Cabinet Vision, Microvellum, or even being able to work with Excel or CSV data as well. Today's application will take this small order that I have here in woodCAD/CAM, and we will process it to manufacturing in order to create something live on the fly. I'm going to say I want to save this order as something, and I'm going to call this Webcast 628 just as an example name. I'm going to go ahead and tell this that I want to automatically create and process to generate the G-code, the document information, as well as the output information for this. My focus today is not about woodCAD/CAM, but I want you to see that we are generating live data that is working within the system so that you can understand that it's possible to be able to have this available within the Production Coach immediately. So I'm also processing out to cut-write this data. Let's say, as an example, we have a manufacturing facility that utilizes nested-based manufacturing. So now we've made the appropriate files for that particular item. So as we are allowing the system to generate what we would think of as the WMF, or all of the detailed part-level drawings for production, I can go ahead and show you that from the cut-write side of things, that we have all of the data that is available for being able to do production. So in this case, I'm just going to say real quickly, again, not a focus at all on engineering or nesting, but just so that we can see the live data working with this. Can even override here specific materials and what we want to do, and I'm going to tell this that we're ready to produce these files. So we will see now that we have the results real shortly. So from this order, we could now look and see that for the things that we produced inside of that, even the oddly shaped stuff that we were working with, we have all of the manufacturing data done for that. So that works out really good to be able to work with. I'm going to issue one last command here to, let me move my docking station a little bit out of the way. And I'm going to tell this to go ahead. I'm going to issue one more command while we're here from the command line to generate what is going to be an XML file, and I can put that wherever it is that I want. In this case, I have mine path to want to go here, so we've got webcast 628. Now, all of that being said, I haven't even shown you the interface yet of the production coach, and so here is the opening position for the production coach, and so hopefully that is displaying now on your screen. The very first thing that I want to do is to tell the system that I want to be able to import a file, and we want to be able to take this file we created, webcast 628, and we want to be able to bring it into production coach. And then we'll discuss the various functions that production coach can do for you, utilizing and harnessing the data that was already created from CAD/CAM. So we have imported this job, so now we have a new job. What we'll see is in the on the left-hand side, this is the work orders that have been imported in. In the upper middle section happens to be all of the deliverable items, cabinets, countertops, those kind of things. And in the bottom section, this happens to be the items that are what we would think of as loose or detached. So they are items that need to make their way onto the truck, but they're not items that are part of assembly. If you thought about a kitchen, for example, someone might ship out a certain amount of crown molding that after the install is done, then the crown molding gets put up. So it's not attached to anything. So we have special things we want to do with that. While highlighted on this webcast 628, I can click on the statistical details of this, and I can see where this is in production. Obviously, we just imported it into our system, so it has not made it through any of our operations to see any progress towards the work order, and there's been no damaged parts or those kinds of things that are part of it. So that makes it interesting to see, but nothing has happened yet. Also, if we look at it from the summary, we could create for this the subassemblies that are required for this order, as well as all of the hardware that is going to be required to be pulled in order to be able to complete the assembly and finally the shipment of this order. So you just get to see a lot of details directly from the beginning. Not only details of the project or work order itself, but also of the product. I chose this one just because I made it kind of an interesting angled, odd-shaped product. And we'll notice, first of all, that it's set as a status ready for production. So one of the things that you could do is you could manually select an individual item and to be able to tell it that it is now changed status, like I started cutting. You also would be able to do a multi-selection of the same kind of a thing and to be able to change the status for all of the items within it so that we would be able to see that. These items I haven't changed, but if we went back to the status, we would now see that we did all the cutting that was required for these items except for the kitted items in this case. So we've started to make progress for this job. Again, if I'm highlighted on a single product, I would also have the ability to tell it that the product itself was damaged, or I'm going to click into the details of this product. What I want you to notice is that Production Coach has the ability to generate a live rendering of the product on the fly, and so that makes it very easy. So you could have literally just scanned a barcode of a part label, and if you did so, I'll select on this, it would give you the same emulation, where you can see if I select on a different one, it is showing me now the position of that part within the assembly. So imagine that you're on a custom bench getting ready to do assembly of a fixture that you haven't seen before. You have a collection of parts, and so now you could figure out exactly where those go in the assembly. You also have the ability to hide anything that you want, so you can see inside of the product. That makes it easy. And to be able to create, let's say that this part was damaged for whatever reason, so we would be able to identify the reason for that damage. And if you see in my bottom right-hand corner, we now have a damaged part alert that's came up, and so we can now see that that has been marked as damaged. This can allow decision makers to have instantaneous alerts that are happening so that real-time decisions can be made about what happens. Notice that it is separating out for me all of the parts from the fronts, and again, if I wanted to, I could hide any of those and to be able to see things behind it. And here's all the hardware that's required. So it gives me a lot of possibilities. Also, if I wanted to drill in and see even more details, I could click on the picture. So here's the WMF, or the drawing files of the parts that were created from the woodCAD CAM software. So that gives me some real ability to be able to look at the machining operations that were on that to make sure that I have all that I need to be able to work in this particular case. So I'm going to go ahead and close this window back up, and we're back to our original screen. There are some additional things that I want to show you. First of all, I want to do a multi-select on these loose items, and I'm going to tell them that I want to make a kit. I'm just going to call this kit 628 for today's date. In creating that kit, literally in a click of a button, I've now generated a label for this as well. And so I'll give that a matching name and just throw it here on my desktop real fast so that we can look at this. Since I can't show you a printed image, I'll show you a screen image of this. So we made a label for this kit, tells you the items that were in it, and generated the barcode for it. And so that's all done. So now, if I were loading onto the truck, I literally could scan just only the barcode, and it would know that all of these things got loaded onto the truck. Today, I don't have the don't have physical things to be able to show you, so I'm doing a lot of this in a manual way to select. But let's tell this that we've made it through, and that we have actually shipped these. The reason that I want you to see this is I also want to give you an electronic version of the shipping report so that you can see that these were the items that were to be shipped. Here's the quantities. Here's actually how many were, and here's how many are still back ordered or not made it on the truck. Well, that's because of those kick plates in that kit. So if I had the barcode scan, that would happen. In today's environment, what I'm going to do is emulate this and tell this that I want the status to be marked as shipped. So now, if we looked at it, we would see that everything made it onto the truck, including the loose items, and that those are all available for us. So that makes it really, really nice to be able to work with for sure. As we're working across, you'll see that we have the same warning center available. So any station that you have set up to be able to accept that would be able to see those things highlighted. We could also look at the performance of our factory as to what it is that we've either shipped, we've kitted, we've assembled, whatever it is that you want to know. And so you could be giving production a real view of how the progress is going, which is found in many studies just by making that information available keeps people on pace for that. I want to view real fast. I'm reading a question that came in. It says, where does the feedback for the status of each part and damages come from? Is this a manual entry that requires a user on the computer at each section in the shop? You can have a centralized computer, or as many of those as you want, or specific to a station. I'm going to attempt in just a minute to do a, how do you call this, a scanning demonstration without you being able to see what I'm scanning. And I hope that that will help you understand that you would have the ability literally to just be able to wand a barcode and it would pull up that information on that product. So as an example, I'm going to do one real fast. And so hopefully you could hear. Yeah, we'll take this and be able to make it so that you'll be able to see, I think, what happens in, well, I know what happens, but hopefully you'll be able to see the way it works. So instead of having to drill down, know what product it was for, or to go select its part in a manual way, you could just wand the barcode of that part label and then to be able to select that it was damaged. You could have a scanner that was configured to mark the status of something. So for example, you could have a scanner at assembly that automatically marked things as assembled when you scanned it. You could also have a scanner that was set for damage or shipped or whatever kinds of values that you might want. The system is highly configurable to what it is that you might want to accomplish with it. So that makes it easy to be able to work with. In looking at the data that we have, here were various jobs that we have in the system. I'm going to take this and close just long enough to be able to open up and to give you a new view. Because I'm running just with one computer, I'm going to be moving from one station to another. But what I want you to see is that I have imported a job now that is called 004. For a moment, I'm going to close down and to open up as a kitting station. And Austin, I think that this will answer your questions a little bit better. It would not matter what I was clicked on, but it would give me the information about a product. If I'm set in an info mode for this, I would absolutely be able to select on something, and in one click of a button, it found the order that it was attached to. It's found the part that it was attached to. It shows me where it is in the assembly so that literally I could click that one button and now we've made a damaged part alert just by scanning the barcode of the product. I hope that that helps make sense for sure. One area that I do want to show you for sure, two areas actually. One is related to kitting. And I'm going to use a term synonymous with this that would be called sorting. So this is what I would think of as a rack where I am looking at parts to make sure that they're good and that I want to be able to get them I want to be able to get them put into various racks, because in my work order I got multiple products, right? So now I need to be able to sort these out so that the person that is going to be assembling the parts has a very easy way to know that all of the parts are available. So I'm going to do some scanning. So you'll notice that I've just scanned 2, now 3, and I'm going to do a few more. So now we're up to 6. We're almost done. And so now, if I scan the 10th part of this, we would see that we are making we have a damaged part that's that is available in this. If it's green, it's going to show you that it knows that it's ready to assemble. So one of these has been marked. There's a number of things that I can also do. I could tell this that I want to be able to move parts from one station to another. So I'll say I want to relocate a rack. And so now these have been moved to a different rack. If I wanted, I could tell this that I need more than one space for a particular product that might have more parts requiring more than one bin. This can work with a fixed storage racks, like this is the actual setup of Styles in their North Carolina facility, but it can also work with mobile carts. So you would be able to have a split screen so that on the reverse side of things, the person that would be pulling parts and doing the assembly would be able to see for sure that all of the parts are here. interestingly enough, this scanning station or this reverse side can look different than the front side by more than the reverse. As an example, you might have one kind of rack for cabinet parts. You might have another rack for sub-assemblies and or fronts, and so those can all be linked together. So this backside wouldn't turn green until all of those things were done. So it solves that problem of making sure that you have everything available before you begin assembly. So hopefully that portion of the demonstration makes sense in what we're working on, and that would give you a good example of how we could work. It does not matter what we look at. We are able to see the status of any of these orders at any kind of a time. If you wanted to say, hey, I thought we were going to be done with cutting, you could also see what the items that were missing on a particular order, so we know how and where to be able to track that down. In addition to the shipping of products, some of our customers do what we would call an allocation, meaning that they want to be able to stage products at a certain position on the floor. And so if I clicked on allocations, this could represent on your factory, maybe they're painted, taped off, maybe you've only got 2 or 3 or how many you have. These could be areas that you want to pre-stage. So I'm going to tell these that I want these to be an A16, and now that I've saved this, it's going to tell the person when they assemble where we're going to want to be able to pre-stage those items. We also have some customers, after pre-staging them, I'm going to take just these and I'm going to tell these that they're going to be part of a kit. And so now I could generate again a label for what would end up being the pallet. You know, maybe you load the products on, you shrink wrap it. Now you've made a label for the pallet. So when it comes time to actually load the truck, you don't have to scan all the individual items on the pallet. You can scan the label of the pallet itself, and that's going to give you a record that all of those items have been shipped. I want to go back over to the questions section of things to find out if there are others, and I want to encourage you that please feel free to ask any questions that you might want for that. Okay, it says, can the scanner use the barcodes generated by CAD/CAM software? Yes, that would be true. So if you've generated the part labels, the product labels, whatever it is, you can use those directly from, again, woodCAD, CAM, Cabinet Vision, Microvellum, or if you're doing something where you need us to do them, then we can generate them for you as well. And it says, can you use the same cut-right barcode printed off the saw? Yes, absolutely. That's that information is coming into the production coach, so there's no need to be able to generate additional barcodes. We're able to use those in themselves, so that would work out just fine. And so no problem at all with being able to accomplish that. Let me see what else we have for questions. Okay, yeah, this is a good one. This is about configuration. I'm going to take just a minute, close down this kitting station. Yes, and I'm going to open this back up as the office. So one of the question that I'm answering in kind of an interesting way is to show you about the configuration of these various things. So what we want to be able to do is to understand that we could have sorting racks like I was showing, and so we would have the ability to define for these how many rows and columns that we might want, and we can have more than one. So here's one that I have for the kitting of parts, and here's one that I have for the kitting or sorting of toe base. And so you can tell it the kinds of parts that you're wanting to put into it, and also how the sorting arrives and works in it. So you're able to create a new one if you want, and to be able to say, hey, these are going to be my door and drawer fronts, and I want to be able to make it how I want. So you're able to just do these and to be able to generate it the way that you want. I might mention that while I understand that some softwares are complex to be able to learn, to integrate, to implement into production, this is typically only a 2 to 3 day process to be fully running in your factory, running from the data that you have and configured for the stations and the scanning racks and those kind of things that you want. So I don't want you to worry too much about that. Other kinds of configurations that we might set up, we'll just kind of go through a few of those. Like, for example, if I wanted to define my allocations, again, I could define as many of these as I want. I could get rid of the ones I don't want. You could decide the kinds of names that you want to have for them. We could even create what we're thinking of as reasons, like why did something get damaged, or other kinds of names. You're able to just use your own user-definable kinds of descriptions for various reasons that things might occur. It might be good to know if we have a fair amount of damaged parts that are actually happening in a particular area. So you could also define the stations that you want to have. Here happens to be cutting, office, shipping, kitting, assembly, hardware. You can have as many or as few of these stations as you want. So again, it's very quick and easy to be able to set up for sure. And so you can set up different users and user types as well. Then we might also want to be looking at the various status. So what I would be able to say is if I was in, for example, cutting, I made the status name cut, and I've told this what I want it to do to have as a default status for a product or a part. So very, very configurable for being able to make this do what you want. And then, of course, the factory itself, your name, all that kind of stuff, logo, all that stuff that you might want for your reports. And then the way that we're going to look at grouping things, the display of items, what we want to see and we don't want to see, and then the report functions that we want, where we want these things to be made available to us. So again, I don't mean to oversimplify. It does some really, really powerful things that I believe has a ROI that is quite tremendous. Of several that we have looked at the analysis, it's been in the range of 6 months for a complete return on investment. It's not something, we're not engineering anything. We're not creating new data. We're using data from your system, so that makes it very, very good. Okay, next question. Once a job is complete, is there any costing information available, like how much labor was used to produce it? These particular functions that I'm showing you today for the production coach do not have an element of time tracking associated with that. We'll get back to you on technology that we do have to be able to do that. So are there timestamps associated with scans? Yes, obviously that's something that can be harnessed from the situation for sure. It sounds like there's a number of these that are about labor tracking, and so that is definitely an area that we can talk with you about, so that you could be scanning at a station just to be able to say, hey, I've started this work order at the saw, I finished it at the saw, so we can accumulate then, of course, the time across multiple stations to be able to give you those timestamps or labor tracking back as well. The main functions that we intended to cover today was to see that you have the ability to track production, that you can visualize automatically parts, that you can deal with various methods of sorting to ensure that assembly is done. We can be generating automated kits, and to be able to ensure that everything made it onto the truck as well. So some really, really powerful functions that are easily implemented in your factory in a very short amount of time that can help tremendously. And it says, is there anything controlling production capacity and project priorities? We have technology that takes you all the way from the very beginning of takeoff, estimation, engineering, optimization, nesting, the production coach, through MRP, ERP, so we can help you with all of those things. But Production Coach is limited to the specific functions that we have covered in this portion of today's webcast. One nice thing is when you do ask questions, they are recorded in our sessions, so we're able to generate a report back out of it. And then there is a way for us to address those things individually. And so it's just, what do you use for scheduling then? So I agree that shops need the technology for planning for capacity and also scheduling. And so we can definitely get with you after this particular webcast and to review the ways and methods that we have for helping you with those functions that go beyond Production Coach. Many of the things that are being asked in the latter part of this webcast are what I would think of as functions of ERP, you know, enterprise resource planning, and inside of that may be a number of functions such as purchasing and receiving and allocations and scheduling and capacity planning and tracking and all those kind of things. So we do all of those things, but I want to make clear that from a Production Coach standpoint, many of those ERP systems also cannot do and handle the things that you've been able to see today with the Production Coach. So Production Coach can run without an ERP system, the way people are doing it today, or if they do have one, it can set as an umbrella underneath that and to be able to help production accomplish the very things that we've covered so far in today's session. I want to pause for a moment and see if there's other questions that we need to cover. Yeah, okay, price. This is designed to be a very affordable solution. It's also modular, so that you could determine what number of stations you might want to have in office and factory. And it's also something that you can determine not only by the number of stations, but the functions you want at those. For some people, they may not care about tracking. Maybe they only care about making sure the parts are there for assembly and for shipping. You know, so it could be a very limited number of stations. I did a proposal the other day that was limited like that, and it was just over $10,000. So not a significant investment like one might be associated with for a big ERP system. However, I've been in a $40 million factory before that had 20-some stations of these working, so that it would be possible to have a lot of stations that could make the cost go up somewhat, but it's very affordable and very fast to be able to work with. Question says, will this work with multiple plants, and will everyone be able to see all the information, or is it limited to just their plant? It's not about the plant, but it would be about this this data. This database is an open SQL database. So if we have multiple plants that are looking to the same SQL server data, then they would all be able to see the very same information. So that could be a great way to be able to bring together more, a place to where people might be separated otherwise, but you could be seeing the status or what's going on with all these things. Any place that you have the ability to be connected to that SQL database. I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, we can definitely get with you on the specifics of what you're trying to accomplish, but there really isn't a limitation that is physical to it, so it could definitely be something that is running across multiple facilities. So job complete. Okay, so this is one. So if I have a job that is complete, I would have the ability to move it into an area, so I would be able to see completed. I could also have items that are set for their service work, like this particular one, to where we're having to deal with the fact that we have some particular items that need to be addressed. or the current work order. So it gives you a real nice ability to be able to do that. Oh, I think I understand. So what would happen if indeed we had imported from a woodCAD CAM, a Microvellum, or a Cabinet Vision, and that software didn't have all the items you needed in it? Well, one thing I would say for sure is I hate not to give a plug to woodCAD CAM, because it really is what I think of a CAD CAM that can help you both in the configure to order, you know, the cabinets and stuff that you're going to tell it parametric information such as height, width, depth, finished ends, those kind of things, but also it allows you to engineer the custom one-off, the engineering or the engineer to order things very easily. But you do have the ability within this to be able to add something. So I could say in this particular case, I've got one of something, and we'll just call it custom item. And so you could give this various bits of information that you might want to be able to give about it, and then you would be able to add that to it. The thing that we can do is that I obviously could generate for you a product label so it could get scanned onto the truck. However, and you could tell its status as you move through, but there would be no, oh, I didn't even spell item correctly, but you would have no details available. There's no parts, there's no information about the assembly. So if you can be using a system that can allow for all of the production items, including the loose items, to make its way through that import into Production Coach, that would be really, really good. I do have a couple of additional things that I want to scan for you, and just so that you can see if I were in a particular place. I'm going to scan a product label for what ended up being a job 005, and it happened to be a product called WC_1FC. And so just in scanning that, I have now marked that as kitted because of the station that I'm working at. So that happened for me automatically. I'm going to do one more. This happened to be from a job that was called Blackwell 2 and a product that was called Chris. So it was a similar product to what we were working on from a whole different job, and so now that status has been able to make it as kitted. One last thing that I want to scan for you today is I'm going to scan a kit, and so now we would see that by doing so, we now have the status moved to kitted for those particular items. So hopefully you can see that you can easily configure the system to be able to accomplish with very little effort from the production personnel to be able to give the information that's going to be helpful to be able to complete manufacturing in a really, really nice way. Yeah, so just to be clear, all of the information was generated in an outside system. This only brought in, so we could see for this product, we could see the fronts that were associated with it, we could see all the hardware, but it means that the system that you're using has to be able to do that. It's not generating any form of parts, assemblies, anything else. It is only reading that data, again, from either CAD CAM software such as woodCAD CAM, Cabinet Vision, Microvellum, or from data that might be coming from an Excel file or CSV file. It says, I got a new question. It says, this appears to be a parts manager program. Does it tie into inventory or purchase orders for material management? It's not a parts manager by any means. I apologize if I'm not making clear, but it is a production coach, so it's going to allow you to do some very specific things. Let me cover these again. If you wanted, you could see that a work order had made it through a particular department or scanning station. So you would say, hey, it's at least started at cutting, or it's both started and finished at cutting. And that could go on and on. It could be edge banding, it could be assembly, it could be whatever you want. So you could see the production status of any work order on the fly. That's one of the functions that it does for you. Another one of the functions that is, I think, beneficial is it allows you to be able to see, just by a scan, all the information available about a part. Maybe you want to mark it as damaged. Maybe you want to see where it is in the assembly. Maybe you want to drill down and to see even more details about the machining that was to happen to that part. So visualization, I think, is another really powerful thing that it does for you. Another thing that it helps you do is the sorting process. So we can make sure that we're able to quickly be able to sort all the parts because they're not grouped together by product. Probably at that point, it's allowing you to do that very efficiently and to let the person that would be pulling that for assembly to ensure that all of the parts, sub-assemblies, and fronts are available for that product before they begin to assemble it. Imagine you've got a custom bench and you've got a fixture that has 50 parts to it, and you start putting it together, you get halfway and you find a part's missing. You got to go track it down, or you got to unassemble what you've done. It's going to be a huge mess to production, and so it means that you need those kinds of tools to be efficient and make sure that you assemble only what is ready to be assembled. It also helps you with allocation for once things are assembled, where can they be staged prior to shipment. It can help you if you kit your products onto pallets and to be able to generate labels for those, and or kitting of loose items that also need labels to ensure that they make it on the truck. And finally, it helps you with the verification, electronic proof that you have loaded everything on the truck. I have some companies that tell me that they figure out that it's missing, but a lot of times it's the job site that's calling back and saying that this is missing. You can have electronic proof that those barcodes were scanned of those kits, of those pallets, and of those products, so that you can know for sure that it was on the truck, so you're not having to be forced to remake it in that process. So I hope that helps a little bit. Again, a number of the questions have been related to systems that go beyond what the scope of Production Coach is. It can work alongside those, but we definitely have those systems as well. We do have another question I'm going to try to read. It says, this appears to be sub-assemblies. Can it perhaps track sub-assemblies and sub-assembly levels when orders are placed? In our world, we have the customer to order on the parent assemblies, and the production orders are child. Yes, you've got it. You absolutely nailed it. Absolutely perfect. So when we are doing sorting, we want to also be able to sort things that I'm going to call sub-assemblies. Just because we're looking at cabinets today, I'm going to give a few descriptions of things that I would call sub-assemblies. One of those might be drawers. So I may have, coming down a line, a bunch of parts that just came off of edge banding that are going to end up making drawers. But I want to be able to sort those just like I do cabinet parts, so that then once all the parts are available, I can quickly assemble. Another type of a sub-assembly might be for people that do a ladder toe base assembly. And so you may be producing a series, or a work order that contains a number of those ladder bases, so we can help you with making sure that all of the parts and pieces have been tracked and sorted, so that when assembly is done, then that can be scanned, and so that we know that all of those sub-assemblies are available for assembly. So great question, Terry. Way to get that from the understanding of what you've seen. This really, I believe, is for those functions that I described, can be highly configurable for the way that you want your factory to be able to operate. I believe that covers most of the questions. If there were any that we weren't able to get to, again, some of what Production Coach can do. I really do want to thank you, though, for attending the webcast. We appreciate you guys as customers. For those of you that aren't customers yet, I hope that you will be soon, and that we can begin building a relationship together. Again, this will conclude today's webcast. Take care, and God bless.